Hey guys, it's Miss V. Just checking in because we are starting week 2 of online learning, and so I wanted to kind of send out a video to help you as we transition from tone and mood to purpose and informational text. Now, first and foremost, I want to check on you guys. I want to see how you're doing, what you're doing. I know a lot of us are struggling to find things to entertain us right now, so below in the comments if you want to add what you've been reading, what you've been watching, what you've been listening to. I'm sure your fellow students and myself as well would love to hear how you guys have been spending this lovely quarantine that we're all under right now. So feel free to reach out to me if there's anything that you guys might need help with, or maybe some book recommendations, podcast recommendations, anything that maybe you're just struggling to complete your coursework. Like any questions that you might have, feel free to reach out to me through email. Again, remember that the comments below are public, so you might want to avoid putting any personal information down there, but I'm sure any recommendations that you might have are perfectly fine. So alrighty, so checking in with you guys. Last week it was new for everybody, so if you struggled with the courseware from last week, it's okay. I struggled too. I struggled to open it. I struggled to figure out what you guys were seeing. I struggled on how to lock the test so you guys couldn't just go through and complete all your coursework at one time. So it's a learning experience for all of us, so don't worry. But the main thing I want you guys to know is please slow down, please, because you guys are rushing through this work and we're not actually completing it in a meaningful way. So I want to make sure that if you're having to do this, do it right. Because I'm not going to unlock the test if I go through and I just see you guys putting IDK as your answers for your lesson. So I'm not going to unlock it. I'm going to reset it and make you do it all again. So don't waste your own time. Don't waste my time. Just do your work. And if you're struggling and that's why you're struggling to put down good answers, reach out to me because I'm still your teacher. I'm still here to help you. So please use me as a resource, and don't forget the resources that you actually have in courseware. So you have a dictionary, so if you see a word that you don't understand, that's perfectly fine. Use that dictionary tool that's built in, or you could always open up a new tab and just type in dictionary.com and go there. You also have guided notes. So I know it kind of seems like more of a chore to go through, do the lesson, and fill out the notes, but when you go to take your test, that's going to help you so much. Like those notes were created to help you. So fill those out. If you're struggling to know where those are, it's on the left-hand side when you're clicking through your lesson. If you go to the left-hand toolbar that has all the blue things on it, click on the guided notes part. If you're still not able to find it, reach out to me and I'll do my best to kind of record a little video to send you for how you find it. So keep in mind, I see the teacher view, not the student view, so it is a little bit of a struggle for me, but I'll do everything I can to make sure that you're successful. So use me as a resource, use the resources built into courseware, and slow down, please. That's what I want the biggest takeaway from last week to be. You guys are doing a good job. I appreciate everybody who's logged on. I know it's hard to get back in the swing of school. It's hard for me to wake up at 8:30 sometimes too, so just because I'm an adult does not mean that I'm perfect, but we're there together. So keep in mind, I have video chat, or I have a collaborative chat every day, Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 9:30. And then I'm going to host a video chat this Wednesday because I've had a lot of requests from you guys to have something where we could all see each other. So those aren't mandatory, and honestly, we've just been using them to talk to one another. Sometimes students will have a question that they'll put here and there, but I know last Friday we were just talking about vacations and fun things that we were doing. So don't feel the need to log on if you don't want to, but if you want to join our chat, I'd love to hear from you guys. It's been my favorite part of this whole experience because, like I said, I do miss you. I miss being your teacher. So those chats really are the best part of my day. So use the chats there every day, 8:30 to 9:30, and then I'm going to have a video chat this Wednesday so we can all see each other face to face. But you'll get an email and a link in your Google Classroom. So make sure you're still checking Google Classroom. Okay. So moving into informational text. So last week was all about tone and mood in fiction. So the main takeaway I want you guys to get from that, because there will be some of that in this week's lesson, is know the difference between tone and mood. So tone is going to be more of the author's view of the subject that they're writing about, whereas mood is more of the emotion that the reader might get from the words that are being read. So I know that those are both very similar, but keep in mind how the author feels about something might not necessarily be how you feel about it based on the words that are being used. So if you're still confused about it, make sure you're going back through the lesson and really understanding the difference, because they're also going to talk about how tone and mood influence the author's purpose in informational text. So for the sake of courseware, keep in mind that informational text they include argumentative in there. And I know that's not what we did in class, so that might be a little bit confusing for some of us. But informational, we know author's purpose is to inform. But what are they informing us about, and how are they informing us about it? That's the big question that is being asked in your lesson this week. So tone and mood are going to tie in because the author's going to use a different tone of voice depending on who they're talking to, the age of their audience, the type of audience that they have. The way I talk to you guys might not necessarily be the same way that I talk to my friends or your parents. So we change how we talk to people based on who we're talking to. So keep that in mind as you're reading through the 2 passages that you guys get to read this week. So fun times, you get to read an article about cholera. So that was another epidemic that was sweeping through the world at a certain time. So it is kind of it's kind of topical to what we're experiencing right now, right? So hopefully that'll make it a little bit more interesting. They are a little bit harder level texts, so like I said, use those resources. If you don't understand them, use the dictionary, use me, call me or email me to see what's going on. If you're totally lost and you're reading, you're like, I have no idea what I just read. This is so many words. But try first, okay? Like, you guys are smarter than you give yourselves credit for. You can read it and understand it if you use the resources that are provided for you. So we're going to talk about how the author uses different tone, and that's how you can kind of figure out what they're trying to inform you about and who their audience is. Remember, some examples of informational can be newspapers, it could be articles that we read online about the news, it could be magazines, textbooks, encyclopedias, recipes. Remember, how-to guides can also be a type of informational text. So all those different reasons why someone might be trying to inform you about something. And then of course they lump in the argumentative section as well. So if they're trying to argue or persuade you, that's going to be another purpose that someone might have. So remember, informational texts can be a little bit boring, they can be a little bit dry, but you're going to see how they use tone and mood to kind of make it a little bit more interesting. So for instance, you're going to read an article from a doctor, Dr. Jon Snow. He's not from Game of Thrones. He's actually was a real person. He writes an article about why he believes that cholera was being spread through the water and not through the air like so many people believed. And then Edgar Allan Poe, our friend who wrote The Raven, if you might remember, also writes a story about he calls it the Red Death. And so how cholera affects not just the poor but the wealthy. And they're 2 of the same topic, but they write in such different ways. And I want you guys to see how the tone and the mood shift based on who they are writing to and why they are writing. Because one is going to be to persuade and the other is going to be to entertain and kind of teach a lesson to the masses that cholera can affect the poor and the wealthy at the same time. So that's kind of a very quick overview of what those 2 texts are about, but hopefully that'll help you moving forward, so that way when you're reading it you kind of know what the whole thing is talking about. But those 2 texts are going to be really important for your lessons because it's going to ask you, how does the author use tone and mood? What evidence do they provide? And that's also going to be on your test. So you really do need to read those. I know they're a little bit slow. Take notes as you read. I definitely take notes as I was reading. I was going through your lessons and that's what I did as well. So use those resources. I can't stress that enough. But keep in mind, look at the titles as well. So if it's like the example that they give in your module, I believe, is funny things I see while jogging. Is that going to be an entertaining thing, or is that going to be a how-to guide? Or if it's how to improve your running stance, that kind of tells you what type of message the author's trying to send as well, right? So use those clues. So use those tone words, use the title to help you understand maybe why the author's writing it. Because why would the author want to write a funny story? Would it be to entertain or would it be to inform? Or maybe it could be both. I mean, things can have they can have primary and secondary reasons for writing it. So maybe the main reason might be to inform, but also in an entertaining way. So that's possible as well. So it might not just be one reason, it could be multiple. So keep that in mind. Why is it important that we know the author's purpose? Why is it important that we know why they're writing an article for us? Because what we read affects us, whether we think it's boring or not. That is the author's way of kind of affecting us in a certain way. So I want you guys to be aware of when you're reading informational text out there, especially since this is an election season, how are you being influenced by the author? Are they using certain words to persuade you? Are they using clickbait titles to try and get your attention, and does the article actually match what the title is saying. So the whole reason that we care about author's purpose is because eventually it does affect us, and I want you guys to be smart and consume media in an appropriate way. So when you guys are wondering, like, why do we have to learn this? What does it even matter? I would argue informational and argumentative texts are some of the most important texts because they're the ones that affect our daily lives. I mean, I believe fiction is super important and they can also affect our daily lives, but the informational part of it is what we consume probably more days than not, because we're constantly being bombarded with media, especially during an election year. You guys are on social media sites that are giving you articles to click to, so we're being influenced by that all the time. So this purpose of informational text, trying to figure out the author's purpose and trying to figure out how the tone shifts depending on who they're talking to, it really does matter, because that is going to affect you whether you like it or not. So you might as well be smart about it, right? So that's why we care about this, and that's why we are doing this module. Alrighty, so looking over my notes, I think we've covered most of the things that you're going to cover. I wrote, take note of the module's differences in narrative and descriptive essays. So it also talks about narration and description. And I want you guys, there is a specific slide on it, and I don't want to just sit there and tell you about it, but I want you to note the differences because that's going to be one of your test questions as well. So when is an author being narrative and describing something through their experience, and when are they doing it in a descriptive way that's meant to inform? So know the differences between those two things. Alrighty, so slow down, do your lessons, answer the questions correctly. I know you guys can do it. There are a lot more questions that you have to write on this time, and the test is a little bit longer as well. So hopefully the tone and mood in fiction was a nice way to ease your way back in, but we are officially in the informational text section. Good news is we've already gone over a lot of it in class, but of course if you have any questions, reach out to me via Google Classroom, reach out to me via email, use those chats that I host daily at 8:30 a.m. I know that's early, but most days you don't. I mean, honestly, you can do it in your pajamas, it's fine. I'm in my pajamas most days too. So we're gonna do a video chat on Wednesday, 8:30 as well. If you have any questions, reach out. I'm sending out an email to you right now. Also to your parents to let them know. Please make sure that you are logging in. If you're not logging in, I do have to reach out to your parents, and I don't want to bombard them with anything else, so just take care of business so I don't have to tattle on you. You guys are so smart and so capable, and I really do appreciate those of you who have logged on. I know it's difficult. It's hard for everybody. We're getting through it. We're doing the best we can. Y'all are amazing. So alright, so look later this week for a video on podcast recommendations. Again, comment down below if there's anything that you're reading, watching, listening to. I would love to hear how you're staying entertained right now. Lord knows I need some suggestions. I'm sure you do too. So let's help each other out down below in the comments. Alright, you guys, have a great rest of the week. See y'all later.